How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Cities Skylines. I hope you're having a good one. We are back in the beautiful city of Nerdinburgh, and there is work to be done. But I have made a couple of changes since the last episode, as I always do. So let's go ahead and talk about those, and then get a little bit busy expanding the city. So this time around, the changes are not too crazy. All I've gone ahead and done is introduced another train line to the new downtown city center train station, and it's this one right here. And basically it is what I've called the Downtown/Airport Express. This train goes expressly between the downtown station. It goes all the way down here through the old town station without stopping. It does have to transfer over right about here, and it goes all the way out to the airport without stopping here, stopping at the two train stations out, well, at the airport, like I mentioned. So it's an airport express. Obviously, people could sort of, do that already. They could get a train from the downtown to the old town to the airport, but now we have an express way to do it. And honestly, the only reason I wanted to do it was so I could, have more trains coming in and out of here. So that's mission accomplished. I also extended this, or sorry, not extended, but I moved the train lines over a little bit so that they were a little bit more smooth and there was a bit less weirdness going on with the train lines, so I think it looks a bit better. And I extended this one out this way, so it's kind of parallel to the existing one. They merge into one, and we'll build something out there eventually. Now that's one change. Oh, hello. Remember I mentioned we had some graphical glitches with the map? Yeah, this is, this right here would be one of them. That is, believe it or not there by design. So let's just fix that real quick. What's the button I'm looking at? This one right here. Let's just smooth that out. There we go. All fixed. Yeah, there was a lot of those when I loaded the game this time. This entire area was covered in like weird kind of glitchy terrain, but I managed to fix most of it except for that one bit. Now, like I mentioned, the trains are one small change. The other change is this. I decided to place the Resort Hotel up on a pedestal next to the train tracks, and I think it looks pretty good right there. I did go in and build a little bit of a car park right here, so this bit isn't actually attached to the building, but using some of the concrete retaining walls and using some ploppable concrete and some grass, I think I've managed to sort of seat this thing really nicely in the area, so I think it looks pretty good. I think it is kind of nice in that spot, and I think it does the job. Now, today, I want to go ahead and fill up this little space. I'd like to fill the area around these train tracks as well. And I want to start looking at getting more residential zoning into the city as well, because we do have a bit of demand for it, and I feel like the population hasn't grown in a pretty long time. So fixing that would be lovely. And also getting some stuff to build in here. That'd be really nice as well, because nothing seems to want to build in here, and I've just realized why. It's most likely because there is no such thing as a, I guess, too, deep, modern city center type building. So to make this happen, I think I would actually have to go in and get rid of this path. And I didn't really want to do this because it might cause some weirdness, but I think I'm going to. So having done that, we should see some buildings pop up along here pretty quickly. And I think I'm going to go ahead and bulldoze these guys as well, just to see that space fill. You can maybe see how I got my words backwards there. Just that little bit more. So hopefully that's going to look better. Obviously, we got some space around here to fill in as well, but enough about all of that. Let's go ahead and figure out what's going in this space and then get the population increased just a little bit. So I've been looking through the unique buildings, and I thought to myself, maybe a statue of some sort would look pretty good in here. And I thought the Statue of Wealth would look fantastic, if not for the bits that end up down on the lower road. And obviously I could customize that a little bit if I really wanted to, but then I got thinking, well, what about something like the Statue of Shopping? It's not quite as bad. We could move that around and it looks okay. But one that actually works quite nicely is Lazaret Plaza. If we place it right there, I could very easily go in, I could grab the building and sort of shuffle it over like this, and suddenly none of it is somewhere that it shouldn't be. It has trees already baked into it, and then all I need to do is go in with this guy and just paint in some concrete, and suddenly it looks like one big plaza, and that's sort of what we're going for. So I think that is essentially what I'm going to do here. I'm going to have to do a little bit of touching up with the good old ploppable concrete over here, or ploppable pavement most likely, and possibly in here as well. Yep, absolutely going to need to do a little bit in there, but that should be fine. And I think that'll look pretty good. So essentially, this is going to live here. I'm going to go ahead and do a bit of detailing around it just to make it look that little bit better. But I'm kind of happy with how it's gonna look in this space. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and turn off grid snapping for a second, and we'll just build this guy right here. We can grab those nodes, and we'll just shuffle this over to about that spot, moving this corner right down to about there. We'll straighten everything up. We'll get it all into position around the grass sections, and then lower this. So it's essentially going to act like a curb around the grass, and that should give us something that's going to look like a pretty good plaza. So object height right there. I don't think this is actually going to play. Oh, it is going to play nicely. Okay. So then we just lower it down. I missed that corner right there though, annoyingly. So all of them to that height. I don't think it's going to be perfect because the terrain here isn't completely even. And looking at that, we need to fix that a little bit because it was kind of curvy. But I think that's okay. I don't really mind that too much. It just from a distance is going to give it the little bit of definition that I want to give it. I think the grass just having that kind of outline makes it look that little bit nicer. So let's go ahead and just raise everything to this height, and I think that's pretty good. It absolutely is. And already it just looks a bit more planted. It looks like, you know, the grass hasn't just randomly sprung up from the concrete. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get a little bit more of this sort of paving right here. We'll extend that back. So if I go to decal or something like that, we can probably find the exact type of, what is it? This right here, yard tiles by any chance? Is that what we're looking for? Absolutely. If I just place a bunch of these, we can basically extend the plaza back really, really nicely. Okay, this didn't exactly turn out the way I wanted it to, but I also don't feel like spending 3 hours designing a tiny little plaza for something that I'm probably never going to look at again. So I'm gonna move on from Lazarette Plaza, and we're just gonna see if I can get a cheeky little bit of zoning into this area here. So my thinking for this is, well, it's gonna be kind of tricky, because we've got zoning down here that I can't turn off because we have buildings on the other side of the road. So maybe instead of looking to turn it off, maybe we just use it. Maybe we don't go in and try to replace all of this with more neat zoning. We just say that, yeah, this bit is going to be kind of curvy and it's going to have some commercial zoning on it. And then this area back here is probably going to be just filled in with some fences down here to kind of block it off a little bit, and then some trees, and it'll sort of look a bit like this essentially. So I think that's what we'll do. We'll go ahead, we'll grab ourselves a bit of a fence, and I'm thinking this time I'm not going to use the concrete retaining wall. We'll use the forestry fence this time because it looks a little bit more interesting. And what we'll do is we'll start about here, and I'm just going to run the entire way down this road right down to about there. Should be pretty good. Now at this end of things, I do want to extend this into the concrete retaining wall so it looks like it's all sort of one thing. And that looks okay. I actually don't mind that too much. I would like to move this down to here though, and then we're just going to bring this guy all the way over and straight over to, I guess, somewhere over here. So let's say there, and bring it down to the road about there. And the same with this guy, right down to the road, right about there. It's not, you know, anything crazy. It's nothing revolutionary, but I think it looks okay. And then we'll just bring it around the backs of the buildings as well. And there we go. I think that looks okay. I'm not going to bother filling up all of this space just yet until we actually have these extra train tracks built and going somewhere. So that's pretty much just going to be what that space ends up looking like. And at this point, I want to go ahead and start working on actually, like I said, growing the population, expanding the city a little bit, and I'm thinking that's what this is going to be up here. We have a pretty big space to play with, and it's still sort of downtown. At least to me, this is still kind of the downtown area, so The way I want to try and do this is I kind of want to use grids. I don't know if they're going to be perfect grids. I don't know if they're going to be all symmetrical, but I kind of want to use grids. So what we'll do is we'll come in here with, I'm going to put some trees on the middle of this avenue, and it's going to go to there. And I'm thinking we could go off this side, but I'm also thinking that a four-way intersection this close to a roundabout is probably a bad idea. So if we went to about here, we could sort of push this direction, and that is going to give us a bit of an irregular grid. It's going to go sort of one way on one side, it's going to go the other way on the other, and that's probably fair enough. We could go here, though, and do the grids this way, so we actually get kind of a nice right angle corner up here, which I actually kind of approve of. I kind of like this. And we do have a pillar right in the middle of this, but that can actually be changed really, really easily if we just rotate and sort of shuffle it to there. Yes, it's in the middle of a tree, but it's also a pillar holding up a subway track in the middle of an avenue, which I think looks kind of cool. Even if it is sort of, you know, not at the point it should be. Look, just don't look too closely at it, okay? That's the thing with that road. Don't look too closely at it. It's fine. All right? In fact, maybe we even go ahead and do, let's see if I can get away with something a little cheeky here. Maybe we put a cut right there, and we put a cut right there. We go ahead and turn that into a grass line section, and then you don't have to worry about it, you know, being in the middle of trees, even if it does look weird not having, you know, trees in there. It's fine. That's totally fine. The other cool thing with this is that this is actually going to let me connect all the way up to the rest of the downtown area. So I could do something like this, you know, have this intersect with it up there, and suddenly you have a big old area to do a bunch of zoning in. Or I bring it straight over like that, which I'm not really thinking I want to do, but it would probably look kind of cool. I think for now, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to bring this guy over. I'm going to bring this guy straight up, and I don't know that I necessarily have the space to connect them, but we'll do that for now. It gives me a lot of space to play with. As for this end of things, there's not a lot of space to play with. I'm not sure where this avenue is actually going to go. I don't necessarily want to have this right up against the highway, at least not in the way that I've done, say, this area where I've just had to throw a bunch of trees in there. But I don't really know. I guess this bit I do like. I like that we have everything right up against it. We have some walls, sound barriers and all that, but yeah, I'm not too sure what this is all going to look like. I think for now, we'll extend that guy a little bit, and I mentioned this is going to be grids. I think I am going to take a bit of a lazier approach with this new district, and I'm just going to do some grids because I want this to be really dense. I want this to be a really, really dense area of the city. I want a lot of people living here. It's really close to the downtown, so it feels, to me, like it probably should be. So we'll do this, and I'm thinking of doing something like this as well, so we have some zoning pretty close to the highway. Now, I know it's not going to look great having those all connected together like that, but I am tempted. I'm also thinking we'll go a little bit further so the zoning is right up against the highway. That way, there's not a lot of space that I need to detail with trees and all that weird stuff that I usually do. So that gives us that zoning. This guy here can be extended to about the same spot. And again, it gives us that zoning along the highway that I can do whatever I need to do with. So that's pretty good. I don't know that these roads need to be all connected together. We could maybe take, say, those two out and extend them to there and there. And we could do some paths or something to let people get back and forth. In fact, maybe we put a cut here and a cut right here. And we do the same on this side and this side. We can maybe turn that little middle section into something with grass so people can absolutely cross over if they really need to. And I think, you know, it looks a bit weird, but I'm kind of okay with that. I also kind of like the idea of doing a middle section with grass on all of these, because if I put buses in there, that'll give us some actual bus stops that kind of cut away off the road. And it also gives us more room to have people crossing over. So if I really wanted to, and I think I'm going to use the amusement park path for this, what I can do is a path right there, a path right there, and I'm going to have to do the same on these roads as well. But we can put some paths that cut really nicely through this entire new area. And getting people walking around, I think, is going to be really important. So that's kind of going to be my goal. So let's do this. Let's do this. And we'll do exactly the same thing here and here. And then all of those need to be made to actually connect to the roads. So these bits that I'm putting in right here are just going to be to let me be a bit cheeky with move it. But I think this will look okay. Okay, the paths are in. Now we need to figure out public transport, which I know we haven't built anything yet, but I want to figure it out because we have this metro line coming over the highway, and I want to do something with that. So my thinking is we could put an elevated metro station somewhere like there and connect around to it. And obviously that is going to cut out some of the buildings, but I think that's going to force me to be a little bit creative with this area, which I think, given the fact that it is just a grid, being forced to be a little bit creative with it is not the end of the world. And I'm kind of okay with that. So let's just do exactly that. We'll bring this guy over like so. And that doesn't look terrible. I think we could probably get away with getting a bit of a slope going on this thing. So it doesn't look, well, so it doesn't look how it looks is kind of what I'm getting at. So let's just hit it with a slope. Let's actually bring you down a little further. And that looks okay. I don't really mind that. I would, admittedly, like to have a bit of a straight section here, but I think I'm gonna have to, no, I do. I need a bit of a straight section. It looks kind of weird. It looks a little bit weird. Oh boy, I might be making this more complicated for myself. Actually, I take that back. This looks much better, having a little straight section right there. So this is good. This is already a means of public transport. It means that we can go ahead and connect this to this new area. So we're actually going to have a metro running. And then up here, I need to figure something out, because I want a way to connect trains and metro together. And we have this hub here, which it's okay, but I'd like something elevated. That's kind of where I'm at. I want something that has some elevation, that looks a bit interesting. Obviously, monorail bus hub is one thing. Metro monorail train hub is another thing. I don't know. There's a lot of really good hubs here. I just don't know that they're necessarily going to do what I would want them to do. And that's the struggle. So let's see. Am I missing something in here? I might be. Yeah, I absolutely was. I was in the wrong section. Let's see then. So we have this guy. It's a crossover train station hub, which is a multi-platform train station that's just for trains. So that's not exactly it. We've got this guy, which is a ground island platform train station. These all seem to be mostly for trains, mostly for single things. Why? I'm drawing a blank right now on what I'm exactly looking for. I'm gonna be honest. So it turns out this is the solution that I've decided to go for. Essentially taking an elevated metro station, putting it along an avenue, having a little bit of a T-junction on the avenue, and putting a train station right at the end of it. And I think this actually looks kind of cool. This almost looks like an extension of that parking lot, and I kind of dig that. Although I am wondering, and this is maybe a little tricky, I am wondering if I could get away with perhaps not having, let's see, perhaps not having that T-junction at all is what I'm thinking. I'm wondering if I can get away with that. If I was to put, say, that right there, grab you, and see if I can stick it right at the end of that road. And it doesn't look like I can, but my thinking would then be, if I was to go in and do this and do that, and then you know, just try and move you down a little bit, it's not going to work, right? Because this building's taking up the zoning. But if I then stick it there, delete this and delete this, grab this building, and put the building there, it suddenly looks a little more compact, and I'm kind of okay with it. In fact, I would almost be tempted to use Move It to shuffle this guy over even further, so it's that little bit more compact, and I do really like that. So let's just grab all of this, grab all the nodes and all that good stuff. Make sure it's nice and level, which it absolutely is. And I think that's kind of a cool way of doing it. So let's get this all reconnected. We'll start with the good old train line, keeping it nice and elevated as it crosses the road to, let's say about there. We'll grab ourselves a metro line as well, and it's going to stay elevated to about the same spot, which is going to be right there. And I think we're going to have to keep both of these at the same height as well. So let's just bring this up to, say, there. Let's go ahead and just even them out a little bit as well. And then this guy is going to come up to be roughly level with the platform, which is about there. This guy is going to come up to the same height. And then I'm thinking we're just most likely going to have a little section of metro line coming out to about there, which is not level, but I don't think it's going to be. And maybe this guy comes out a little further as well. And we just curve them together, essentially, is my thinking here. Maybe to about there, bring this down. Ooh. Oh, that is not going to play nicely. This might be a little bit of a sharper turn than I planned on, but we'll see what that looks like. That actually doesn't look terrible, so we can make that work once we level it out. And then this guy is going to be a bit of a similar story. That's about, let's say, needs to go there. Is that about even? I would say that's about even. We can go in, we can curve like this. We can grab all those sections and get a lovely slope going between everything, really. So we'll grab all of you, we'll grab all of you, and we'll grab all of you and slope the objects. And then we also need to change, if I remember right, all of that train track into the high-speed rail viaduct, because that was what I decided was going to be the train tracks over here. So something like that looks pretty good. And then for the metro, it's exactly the same story. Grab all of this, grab you, and slope objects. And that looks fine. In fact, you know what? I would even grab that one and maybe we slope it as well. Looks a little weird. It looks a little sharp, but I think we'll survive. And just like that, we have our first metro line up and running, heading right into the city center. Looking kind of cool as it does so, and that gives us a little bit of overlap between the metro running up into this new area and the trains running down into the old area. So let's go ahead and figure out a little bit more building, a little bit more road work in this new space before we go ahead and do the building. And I think we'll just, again, keep it relatively simple. We can use normal roads. We'll go out to, let's say, this spot. We can do the same on this side, going out to about the same spot by the looks of it, and doing this. And then over here, we can come into about there, should be fine. And for this middle section, we do something like this, and we do a little bit like that. And that gives us some zoning around the metro station, which honestly, I'm probably not going to actually fill up with anything. This will probably be some kind of plaza, some kind of park or whatever. But I think that's pretty solid. Now, what I would like to do is make sure that we still have plenty of pedestrian crossings in here. So we're going to do this, and then we'll go in and put these roads in here so I can go ahead and make sure that the pedestrian crossings are exactly where I want them to be. So just like that is perfect. I think what we could probably do is the same thing right here as well, just turning this guy into a section of road with the good old grass on it as well. And then essentially it's going to be a case of running some pedestrian paths into this area. So across here, yeah, maybe not up to there, maybe a little bit further to there and across to there. And on this side, exactly the same thing coming back like so. And that's just going to let people get around, and that's what I'm looking for. I want people moving about on foot as much as possible, so hopefully that's what we're going to have here. Because if they're walking about, they might think, oh, hey, well, you know, I want to go downtown. Might as well hop in the metro. Might as well, you know, get myself a bus or a taxi, and hopefully that's going to help the traffic in this area not be absolutely terrible. But there are two things that are going to get in the way of that. Number one is its city skylines. And number two is, well, me. You know, I was going to try and avoid having dead-end roads going up to the highway, but I think I'm actually going to go back on that just so I can fill in a little bit more of this space. So something like this should be pretty good. We can do kind of the same thing here as well. We can do the same thing here if we really want to, or even here if we really wanted to, which I do think I really want to. I want to get that zoning in there so that we can really get this area right up against the highway, really fill in this space. And I'm also thinking it might be kind of interesting to connect these areas together here. So if I was to go in, let's see, if I was to go in something like this, and we get ourselves a little tiny bit of curved road right there, it just gives us a connection to, you know, it's another connection to the main avenue, and I think that's important. We'll probably have some kind of policy to stop traffic from going crazy in here. But it also lets me build some stuff in here, like maybe a park, or maybe this is where the high school goes. In fact, you know what? That's exactly what I'm going to do. And man, I would love to use this one. I would really, really love to use this this bigger high school. And I feel like I probably can get it in here. I feel like I can probably do it if I put it right there. I think that's a pretty good spot. I mean, I guess if I really want to, we can just use move it to sort of rotate it around and put it exactly where I want it. And where I really want it is like here. I just hope it connects, which it looks like it does. It doesn't seem like it's having any problems not being connected to the road. So that's perfect. That's where the high school is going to go. And I guess at this point, I need to grab all of these nodes and grab the building. And I want everything to be kind of level so I can really do some detailing around this. So we'll flatten it out a little bit. I think this little section here could probably be changed to be a bit neater. And then this little path right here is just going to need to come up ever so slightly. We're about there. And you're going to need to do exactly the same thing to about there. But that should be good. That should give us some, you know, space to build the high school into something kind of cool. It gives us some room around it to put in some basketball courts, some tennis courts, and all that stuff. So that's a nice little dedicated area for the high school. We can also smooth all of this out so it doesn't look quite as terrible. And I think at this point we're getting very, very close to actually zoning this area. But what I do want to do is I want to level all of those roads so that, man, I might want to level this entire area. Hold on a second. Let's see what we can do here. If I grab these three nodes and say that they're going to be leveled to there, I think that's a little better. Then grab these three and bring them down just ever so slightly. What we can do is probably just level a bit of this out so it looks a bit less rough. So like this is pretty good. And then essentially we grab all of these nodes and bring them up to the right height next to the road, which is about there. Did I miss one? I didn't. They're just different heights. That's okay. So they're going to come up to about there. And I think that looks okay. I think that gives us a little bit of, you know, height deviation in here, but it's nothing too crazy and I can definitely work with it. So I like it. I think that's good. We'll definitely detail around the high school a bit more, but for now, I'm just going to leave it be as is. And these paths are maybe a little bit weird. Let's see if I can do something with that. I figure an elementary school on the other side is probably a good idea as well. And then what I really want to do is get some services in here too, just before we start building the rest of it. So my thinking is the medical clinic can go underneath the metro line. It's a little janky looking. It's a little, this is not necessarily going to be a luxurious neighborhood. It's not going to be awful, but it's definitely, it's a little like, hey, this is downtown. It's expensive because it's downtown. It's not expensive because it's nice. So I think a little medical clinic underneath the metro line is kind of cool. A little fire station next to it, or a police station next to it, might be kind of nice. So let's maybe see if I can get away with this. And honestly, honestly, I'm okay with that. I don't dislike that. Now, yes, it's technically sticking into the metro line, but I'm okay with it. I think that's fine. I think that gives us our services right there in the middle of everything. And then the fire department, let's maybe just throw it over here. That's actually kind of cool. I like that. Let's shuffle it over one. And what I'll do is just slap a parking lot next to it. And I know that's not fancy. I know that's a little bit of a waste of space, but I think, did I get some fire? I did. I got some fire truck props. So what I can do is I can go ahead and throw like a little fire truck just, I don't know, right there. And I'll throw another one just say there. So it looks like there's something going on, right? I think that's kind of cool. We could maybe throw a little fire hydrant, I don't know, right at the corner of the street. I like it. I think that's kind of neat. Did I get some police cars as well? I really hope I did. Because, oh, I did. So I can detail these areas really nicely. I'm going to have some fun with this. Let's put a little police car right there. And let's see if I've got an ambulance as well. I absolutely do. So let's park an ambulance here. And I'm also going to park one under there. So it just looks like there's a bit going on. It's a little bit more interesting. And now I think the final step of this area is going to be plazas, because that's something I haven't done a lot of with this city. So I think like a large playground somewhere would be kind of interesting. Maybe right opposite the elementary school would be kind of cool if it fit, which annoyingly it doesn't. What else have we got? We've got a park with trees. Doesn't really fit. We got this guy. We got this guy. Okay. I'm slightly annoyed that it doesn't actually fit, although it does fit beautifully there. So what was this one? This was the small park. Okay. Let's put the small park right in the middle. And I guess, honestly, the large playground, I would love to get in here. So let's do this with it. And let's just shuffle it over a little bit. So it's right about there, which is nicely central. And again, to be a little bit lazy, I'm just going to do some parking lots at the back. So right there, and there, we'll do some parking. And, you know, maybe that's a parking lot for the playground. Maybe it's a parking lot for the school. I don't know why it would be that far across the, on another road, but it is what it is. It's fine. Let's just do some detailing. A teeny tiny little bit of detailing with a farm fence that can go ahead and run down this way. And we will absolutely go ahead and just grab the entire thing. We will shuffle it right to the back of the parking lot. And we'll go ahead and bring it over like this, just to separate the parking lot and the park that little bit further. So now that that's done, let's get some zoning in here and let's figure out what it's going to look like. So I think this main road is going to be commercial zoning. I think that's probably a pretty good shout. So we'll do exactly that in those spaces. We'll do exactly that in here as well. And we'll do that. Well, I was going to say we're not going to do any zoning behind the elementary school, but I think we need to. And I'm also thinking that what we could do is I'm actually going to shuffle this a little bit so it's there. And I might go one further and put it there. And then say that that space I've left open is also for the elementary school. So that way it gets some extra space, but it's also kind of surrounded by some buildings, which, now that I think about it, this little building on its own as an elementary school is going to look weird amongst a bunch of what's essentially going to be skyscrapers or at least apartment buildings. So I might look for a different style of elementary school on the Steam Workshop. But for now, the rest of this is essentially going to be residential. So we'll go ahead and fill in. Let's actually say this bit's going to be offices, just to be a bit different. This bit is going to be residential, as is all of this. And let's see, I guess all of this guy and this guy as well. They're a little close to the highway to be residential, but I think I can make it work. And I guess we go ahead and do some more stuff, like saying this bit can be commercial. In fact, all of that can be. This bit's going to be left open. And I think the rest of this is, once again, just going to be a bunch of residential zoning. And just like that, things have started building. Now, what I've done for this district is I've encouraged recycling, I've boosted parks and recreation, I've boosted education, and I've banned high-rise buildings, and I've also encouraged cycling. So we will have some mid-rises in here. We'll get some decent-looking apartment buildings, but we are not going to have massive skyscrapers. So essentially, the buildings here are going to be about the same height as these guys just over here. So everything should sort of match and line up and look kind of, you know, about right for this area. It's also going to be a nice boost to the population, which is essentially what I wanted it to be. Now, for the time being, in terms of getting power over here, I think we'll just do something simple like this so that they stop complaining about it. And I also totally forgot to put pipes under the newer section of this district. So let's just very quickly solve that problem by giving them a whole bunch of pipes in there. So this guy's going to go to about there. This guy's going to go about there and there. And we'll also do, let's see, this right here. We'll bring a pipe right up to there. And that should almost cover the entire space. So these roads are going to need it as well, as is this guy. So there we go. The entire space has water, has power. It has a metro connection, which is looking like it's going to get a little bit busy, which is good. This one up here is, well, I would say very unlikely to get much use, which is fair enough. It's kind of out here in the middle of nowhere right now. But, well, you never know. You never know. Someone might decide to come out here for some reason. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, what I will do is, I guess, go ahead and start putting some buses in here. Because I think, you know, I got all these sections of road to play with. We might as well get some buses. Speaking of buses, I did go ahead and delete all my old bus lines. That was a little something I did just to try and tidy it up a little bit. And I've started giving my buses numbers as well. So any 900 bus is going to be going either to or from the airport. The airport is essentially kind of the main point of that line. The 100s are all downtown lines. The 500s are old town lines. So I guess technically we're going to put another 100 line in here, and it's going to be another downtown line. So the way I'm going to look at this is, let's see, let's go from here. Let's go to here. Let's bring it over by the high school. That seems like a pretty good idea. And we'll bring it to, let's see, a lot of these downtown lines I've been sort of not terminating, but I've been overlapping them by City Hall, which seems like a pretty solid idea. So we'll bring it over by City Hall. We could skip a couple of stops, bring it down to say there, skip a stop or two, bring it down to there, and we'll just bring it back, I think. So back into here, and we'll loop it down to, ooh, that's actually not where I intended that to be. Let's just move you down to there, so that's a little bit easier to manage. And that looks okay. So what we'll do with that guy is it's going to be 103, and it's just going to be another downtown line. And I guess we just make it red. And the buses on those, I think, are the bendy buses. So we're going to be using this guy. And I think I'm going to make an inverted one as well. Just to, you know, for whatever reason, just because I can. I don't remember exactly what stops I used, though. I think I used this one, and I think I used that one. And then we want to bring it up to City Hall. I realize we have nothing sort of going in and stopping on the opposite side. So let's actually do that, since it's kind of interesting looking. And then it comes back over. It is going to lap, you know, sort of over itself, but that's fine. We'll bring it down like this and go to there. And essentially that is going to be, what is that, 104, and downtown. We make it a lovely bendy bus. We make it red, and we'll see how that goes. I'm hoping that's going to be enough public transport to get people moving around here pretty quickly, pretty easily. I'm hoping that with the metro station right in the middle as well, people are going to be inclined to use that. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. But that is going to be a good, you know, good bit of extra population for the city, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I would like to fill up some of this space as well as all of this, which I think, honestly, Do we have another tile that we can purchase right now? No. When do we get another tile? So we need 50,000 people. Okay. When we get 50,000 people, oh boy, how do these tiles, that's not what I'm looking for. How do these tiles work again? So technically I'm going to need this one. Well, probably this one. I should probably just unlock all of them, shouldn't I? I do have the mod to do that, but I've been sort of sitting on it. Because the way I'm looking at it is, well, you know, I'll play through, I will get all my 9 tiles, and then eventually go ahead and grab all of them with the mod, so maybe that's what I do. Maybe we don't grab all the tiles until we've earned them, which that's going to be its own little challenge, I guess. But we'll see how it goes. I'm also thinking that I did mention I didn't want to do a 4-way intersection down here, but I've realized this would line up really nicely and would give me an opportunity to do some interesting zoning. So I might break that rule. I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of thinking I'm going to break my my rule and do that, because in doing that, I can also go ahead and just push this road straight through, and it just gives us so much weird space to play with, and I really enjoy that. It lets me put some zoning between these train tracks. It lets me just do some cool stuff. So I think I'm going to commit to the weirdness is what I'm going to do, and we're just going to have something like that. It is weird. It is weird looking, but it's also fun. And with the right district management, I think we can get away with this. Now, what I will do is I want to set up these lanes properly, which should now be done. I think this guy, honestly, should probably have 4 lanes. So that right there, and also set it up correctly, which it now is. Set you up properly, set this guy up properly, and this guy up properly. And we should be able to manage that. That shouldn't be too much trouble at all. Well, I say that, it's traffic lights right next to a roundabout. It's probably going to be trouble, but I'm going to hope for the best. And what I'm also going to do is very, very quickly get some zoning in here. Just to fill up the space, because I kind of want to. And there we go. It's nothing too fancy, but Grove Square is good to go. We've got a bunch of zoning in here. We've got room for commercial as well as plenty of residential. And I think what I'm going to do as well is go in and just place a bit more commercial zoning over on this side. And I'm going to do the same right here and right here as well, just to start filling all of this up. And I think I'm going to do the same over here too, so that we can really start filling as much of this space up with some good old zoning and actually start to turn this area into a proper little part of the city. So we'll get this going, we'll get that going as well. I have turned zoning off on a big old section of this avenue, so we are going to have some space to play with in these corners, and that's probably all right, although I probably do want to turn some of this zoning off so that we don't get some weird kind of, you know, corner sections going there. And to be completely honest, I'm thinking we could probably get away with turning a little bit of this off as well, just to get me that extra little bit of residential on that corner. And then down here, we've got some kind of messy zoning to play with, so why don't we just turn this off as well, which is going to free up some of this space. We've got this little guy to play with too. We've got all of this across here, which I think, honestly, just make it commercial, and that'll look all right. And I would say that's probably fine. I think that's about everything we're going to get away with. I don't think we can do anything there. So we'll let that build up. It's going to take some time. It does have some pipes, which is great, although this little bit actually doesn't. So let's just fix that. But eventually, that is going to be a connection for power to these 2 stations. And I think what I'll probably also do is get a lot of pedestrian path connections around here, because we don't have any of those yet. I'm also fully expecting traffic to be a nightmare in this area for the foreseeable future, because as it stands, well, there's only 2 lanes coming in. It's straight into traffic lights. It's going to be rough is what that's going to be. It is 100% going to be rough. We could probably get away with some giveaway signs if we really wanted to, which I'm not against doing. I don't think it's necessarily a long-term solution. But while we're dealing with all this traffic, I'm kind of willing to give it a shot and just see what happens. So we'll see how that plays out. These guys don't have power. These guys are building. In terms of services in this area, I mean, they have got healthcare. Fire leaves a lot to be desired across the entire city, if we're completely honest. Policing's fine, and education, I mean, they need more elementary schools. They need more high schools. Universities are fine. We just need more education. But before we do that, I want to get my hands on some better assets for it. So we're not going to be touching education today. I do think this is a pretty good expansion of the city, though. It's going to let us have some pretty good looking areas. I want to make them a bit fancier. I want to, you know, really just make all of this as good as I can, which honestly, I really wish there was a theme for houses that looked a bit like this. Like, give me some proper city center type housing or something like that. I think it would look absolutely awesome. And by the way, I forgot to mention, I finished this plaza. I forgot to mention it at the start of the episode, but I went ahead and did this. I decided to just put some paths around it. You can see people walking on it. And then I just went in, did some curbs, did some asphalt in there, which was just because I wanted a different looking concrete texture, and did some benches and some stands and all that good stuff. And I think it looks okay. I think it fills the space kind of nicely and is pretty good, if I do say so myself. Now, let's see. Is power... No, it hasn't crossed over yet. Once power crosses here, I can go... Ooh. There we go. I can get rid of these power lines and, you know, start figuring out what's going to go in that space. I'm also realizing that there's essentially two ways to get to this part of the city, and it's across the roundabout or up and around there. That's probably going to be disastrous, honestly. It's going to be a repeat of what's going on at the central roundabout where traffic just backs up like crazy, but hopefully it'll be okay. Hopefully my public transport connections will save the day a little bit. Doesn't look like there's a good number of people waiting in there for a metro. And then out this way, I've got no idea. Down in the city center, have we got many people waiting? It's difficult to see. It looks like there's a couple of people in there, which is not too bad. It would probably be better if we did have more metro stations, but I really don't know where I'm going to put those. I've got to be honest, because I feel like whatever I do, I'm going to be punching through existing parts of the city, and I actually don't remember how big the above ground metro stations are. So we'd be looking at this guy, which happens to fit... Ooh. Now, hold on a second. Let me bulldoze all of this real quick, because this metro station fits really nicely in there. And if I was to go ahead and place it right there, we could bring some metro through this... Oh, we're doing a metro connection. We're doing it. We're getting another connection, and it's probably going to add some people to the line, which is kind of what I'm looking for. So let's see. From here, we want to go straight to there. It's going to be getting rid of... Well, it's going to be getting rid of some zoning, but that's kind of the trade-off here. Let's see. What are we looking at in terms of this curve? We're going to be wanting to go a little further forward, and then we want to hit this curve as best we can, which is going to be right there. And then if I was to grab you and lower you down a little bit so you're nice and level, and then I just go in and grab all of these nodes, and we're going to get the best looking little slope we can get here. So slope that. That's not too bad. It comes around kind of nicely. That looks pretty good to me, actually. So let me grab this stop and move it to there. And let me go ahead and say we're going to have a stop there, and a stop is going to go there. So now we have a metro line that goes from here to Fawn District, and we could probably really easily go from Fawn District into the Old Town, but I don't know that I necessarily want to go into the Old Town. I think that'll be a bit weird to push a metro, especially an above ground metro when we already have trains into the Old Town. So maybe instead we kind of cut left here. In fact, we could do a stop right there. That might be kind of silly having them so close together, but if you think about it, there's currently no way to walk to that space here without, I guess, going, well, you could do it, but it's a bit of a distance. So maybe a little metro connection between those two areas, push the metro underground, into the hill, bring it back out and into this area, and then over to the airport. I don't know that we need to do that, but I think for the time being, this is a pretty good little metro setup. Unfortunately, it has gotten rid of some buildings, but I think what I can probably do to make up for that is just throw trees at it. That's basically my solution to every problem in City Skylines is trees. And let's be honest, it works almost every time. Oh, this finally has power as well. So this is up and running, which means we have some people waiting on trains. We do have someone waiting for a metro as well, which is pretty good. Oh, look at them arriving at the same time as well. There's a good number of people got off of there. There's a decent number of people got off the train. That's really cool. I really like this. It's a really cool little area. I'm glad I did this. It looks a bit weird, but I'm glad I did it. Because, it's a nice little crossover for the trains and the metro. So that's good. And this is all building up really quickly as well. We're about to hit 50,000 people, which means we're about to get another tile, which means I can keep building up into this space, which is basically just a lot of good things. Other than, the obvious issues with traffic coming off a roundabout, which was never really built to deal with this much traffic. But that's fine. We'll not worry too much about it. I'll tell you what we'll do though. I think we'll leave it there for today. I'll let this area build up. I'll probably go ahead and finish the road layout between episodes. And then next time, I want to detail the area around this high school. I want to detail the area around this metro station as well. And I want to try and make this entire district feel, and this is a word I've been using a lot, planted, established, and properly built into that area. If you remember back to the start of the episode, I mentioned how, using these retaining walls kind of helps to make this building feel a bit more like it belongs in the area. It feels like it's not just slapped on a road, but it's been built right up to the road. That's kind of what I want to do with this entire district. So I want to get some fences along the highway. And I mean, if we're completely honest, we can kind of do that now by just going in and doing this. Because the retaining walls actually do wonders for making an area look like it's slightly separated from a highway, and I forgot that they existed, I'm not gonna lie. So we'll go ahead and do some retaining walls real quick, just to help us out a little bit. But even beyond that, I think, getting this area to feel like it actually belongs here and like it's not just been built 2 minutes ago is gonna be my goal. Getting this high school to feel a little bit better is going to be my goal. Filling in a lot of the emptier spaces with parks, plazas, details, and all that good stuff is going to be my goal. And probably filling up the space in the roundabout, in here, and kind of around here is going to be my goal. I want this to all feel like an extension of the downtown area. So that's going to be what we do, and hopefully I can do it well. And hopefully we can make it look good. I also want to ask a question. I want some feedback. I want some suggestions on what we put in this roundabout. Because I've mentioned that we could take the Nerdenborough sign and we could put it over there. We also got our 50,000 people, which is fantastic. We could take the Nerdenborough sign, we could put it over here facing out to the highway. The same way we've done with the original one. And with the other one right here, I almost forgot where it was. We could do that for a third time, which I don't think would be a bad idea. I think we could probably get away with that. Or we could do something else with it, because it is right by downtown. Although I'm going to be honest, the Nerdenborough sign with the Colossal Order logo in the background, might be fantastic. But I want your suggestions and I want your ideas. So leave them in the comments below. Let me know what you think should be built in that roundabout. Let me know what you think could be built in this area as well, right up against the highway. Any and all feedback is welcome. I'm reading the comments, I'm checking them out, and we'll see what happens. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you very much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.